And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to Fairway to Heaven here on the Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow, subscribe. Tell the world, tell a friend to join the conversation if you want to interact with the show. If you're watching on Twitter and you got U.S. Open questions, head over to the YouTube page for Philadelphia Sports Network. It is the best place to interact with the show as we break down who is winning the U.S. Open and a little sneak peek. You know, in my comments, my test comment there, I give everybody a little sneak peek on who is winning the U.S. Open this week. I am Phil Stiefel, your host. You can follow me on Twitter at Beard of Knowledge. Join me again this week is my main man, Sam Wagman. You can follow him on Twitter at Swagman95. What is up, Sam? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, man. It's a major championship week. We always have fun out here for these, and it's just good to kind of get a normal week of golf, right? It's a normal week of golf. Nothing too crazy has happened lately, but like coming off the RBC Canadian Open. The wild finish that was. I hit my Nick Taylor outright.
Had Nick Taylor.
I did have Nick Taylor. I did have Nick Taylor. That's first. I think that's the first outright I've hit since the Masters. It's my sixth of the year though, so I'm feeling nice heading into this week and ready to chop up another major. I mean, this course is just crazy when you look at it.
Absolutely. Before we get to the USF, I do want to say two things about the RBC. First off, congratulations to Taylor, all the backers of Taylor. That's a great hit. Well, I don't know what you got him on. I know he was averaged around 75-1. So that is a huge hit right there for you guys. But I don't understand why I and a lot of other people keep betting Tommy Fleetwood outright. Like, I tell myself every time. I was talking to Jason, who hosts the show a lot with me, after the show last week. I'm like, I bet Tommy Fleetwood. I don't know why I bet Tommy Fleetwood, because he literally breaks my heart with these second and third place finishes all the time.
Yeah, and that's really the reason why I've stopped betting Tommy Fleetwood outright. Like, I think he's a magnificent golfer.
Absolutely.
But there's clearly something mental going on in his head that he cannot finish. All he had to do was birdie the easiest hole on the golf course in regulation yesterday. I was on the golf course when it happened, and I said to my buddies, I got this Nick Taylor outright. Fleetwood's tied for the lead. He's going to 18. It's the easiest hole in the golf course. Like, I'm screwed. Like, I know I'm screwed. It's okay. Like, I'm just chalking this up as a loss. The process was right. And Fleetwood shanks it into the grandstands. Like, what? Like, all you got to do is hit it short of the green, man. You're a tour pro. Like, I don't understand why you're trying so hard every single time. And then he, he extended it on the first hole of the playoff with that 20-foot birdie putt, like, was miraculous.
Hey, the second one back in. Like, once you think you're out, he sucks you back in there.
Yep. The second one, he misread a 10-footer. Mm-hmm. The third one, he missed a putt that was shorter than what Nick Taylor had. And the fourth one, he never had a shot. But, because once Taylor sinks that eagle putt, it's all over. And, just that was absolutely wild.
I mean, it was a great scene watching Adam Hadwin get tackled by security, because no one knows who Adam Hadwin is as the casual people. So that was fantastic.
Dude, he just looks like a fan. Like, but he, in the security guard's defense, he was in green t-shirt. He was in jeans. Yeah. Have you seen the slow-mo other angle view where it's it like you have the security guard coming this way, like right at you. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen. You just have Nick Taylor in the background. Nick Taylor looks like this, and Adam Hadwin's just getting tackled by a security
As
guard.
Adam's saying, security did their job.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. It's like that's
And in true
got to be like, oops.
In true Canadian fashion, you could see Hadwin apologizing to the security guard for having to tackle him after they got up, and he's like, I'm Adam Hadwin, I'm a golfer, I'm not a fan. But that was so funny.
With Canadians, they're also so kind and happy. I got a lot of friends from Canada, even not major golf fans, that are happy that Nick Taylor won. Right. So shout out to all Canada.
I bet the English contingent that was there, Justin Rose and Tyrrell Hatton. Yeah. I bet they were not that nice going out of the 18th hole there.
But anyway, that brings to this week at the U.S. Open, LA Country Club, and I know you see it too, that the golf tip checker, account on Twitter that tracks all the golf, and I saw like 1% of the accounts so far have bet Tommy Fleetwood, and that's why I said that. I'm like, because I just don't get why we keep torturing ourselves. And I'm not betting Tommy Fleetwood this week because I don't think he fits LA Country Club. This is going to be – I don't know how to exactly describe the gut feeling I have this week. It's not carnage. It's maybe the words unpredictability because of this course, or it's going to be a super tough U.S. Open course, but not the typical U.S. Open style course.
I actually do think Tommy Fleetwood fits this course because
it's up length for some of the long par fours.
I don't think you have to be a bomber on this course. This is a course that's more in the mold of Brookline last year at the Country Club, and not in the style of most U.S. Opens where you don't have to be extremely long. Look, the course is 7,421 yards, but I spoke to Rick Gaiman, who runs Rick Run Good, of course,
the best.
And he was following Scotty and Xander and Burns on their practice round today, and he was saying the course is running extremely firm, even for a Monday. And he was saying he wouldn't be shocked if the scores plays more like 72 or 7,100 yards come Thursday. So because we're used to seeing California events played in February and March, sometimes even January. There's still rain in the forecasts out there, but this is June. It hasn't rained in several weeks in California. These fairways are baked dry. These greens are baked dry. This course is going to be like hitting a ball on a cement street. Mm-hmm. That ball is going to bounce and roll forever. So a lot of times I think the guys who are long, it's going to be mitigated by how good their driving accuracy is off the tee. So I think, a more central stat like strokes gained off the tee is going to be more important than driving distance. So I do think Fleetwood's going to be okay. And I think, his accuracy is usually very spot on. These greens are a little bit on the smaller side. He ranks 6th in my model in greens regulation gained. So I did actually look at him. Maybe a matchup here, maybe a placement there. You won't catch me putting it out right.
I don't even know. I don't even want to know what his odds are because you might intrigue me to bet him.
They're 50-1. They're like in that range. Don't do it.
50-1's like that's really good.
But don't do it. It's dead zone. It's dead zone. It's dead zone. You can't do it.
Don't tell me. So we got the U.S. Open. We've been playing all these elevated events. Obviously, it's like the busy season, and all these guys are playing a lot of events. But we have seen at the U.S. Open some longer shot guys contend and win. Obviously, Gary Woodland, what was he, like 110-1 when he won it a few years back, something like that.
Actually, I think he was 80, but
he was a longer shot.
He was 80-1, 80-1.
It just, when I think of majors and when I think of elevated events, I'm looking at the Scotty Schefflers, the John Rahms, whatever.
Right.
But there is something about the U.S. Open that opens the doors to a lot of different golfers. Before we talk specific golfers, will you be looking at, at least outright, the guys that really have a chance to win? Are you keeping your window and your card really small and tight at the top? Or are you opening yourself up to some long shots and stuff like that potentially.
Yeah, I kept this card pretty tight at the top for the most part. But I do for majors sometimes take guys who are a little bit longer, since when we get to a major championship, the odds get so deep for some of these guys because the way Vegas sees it is that there are only a few guys with the chance to win. And truthfully, the U.S. Open is not a major tournament that lends itself to having outside guys, but there are a couple guys, further down the card who, ranked pretty good in my model that have good shots to win and good narratives. But for the most part, I kept this card pretty tight at the top. I made sure to include one of the big three in there, and there's a few other guys in the 35 to 1 or shorter range.
All right, well let's look at the card. Let's look at the top guys. So you got 5 guys on DraftKings, priced $10K and above. You got Scotty Scheffler leaving the way, John Rahm, Brooks Koepka up to the third guy, Cantlay, Victor Hovland. On DraftKings, it's Rory, isn't even in the 10K, so he's not even in the top 5. So I know me and you are going to have a little bit of a discussion here on Scotty Scheffler and John Rahm. I just want to preface this by saying, if you want to bet Patrick Cantlay, this is the week to do it, because this is the first major in about 3 years that Patrick Cantlay is not on my card. I have been dead set, just like I just said, I'm off Fleetwood forever. It's either going to be Patrick Cantlay or Tommy Fleetwood that win, because it's the first time I'm not betting him. I think I started with the 2020 Masters, November Masters was the first fairway to heaven. I think I've bet him every single major since then. Wow. And this is the first one I'm not betting him.
Well, I mean, look,
Cantlay, everybody else.
I don't know. It's something. I don't think Cantlay. Cantlay fits every golf course these days because he's just so good off the tee, and he's just so good pretty much everywhere. But I don't know what to think. And look, Cantlay is one of the narratives with Cantlay is the Southern California narrative. He's from Orange County. It's the same thing with Xander Schauffele. They're both from Southern California, but Cantlay doesn't play well in California. I was looking at that for I was looking at it for something. I can't remember what it was, but I don't know. And Cantlay doesn't play well in majors overall. Despite the fact he ends well, he just doesn't play well during. He usually has 1 or 2 good rounds that propels him inside the top 15. But I don't know that Cantlay is the guy that you want to take here at 14 to 1. I mean, he's moved into third on the odds board past Rory for the first time forever. And yes, he ranks 4th in my model. And yes, he's first on the board in bogeys avoided, first on the board strokes gained off the tee. But he also sucks at these long par threes. There's these par threes that could decide the entire tournament, the ones that are 225 plus. And I don't know, something about Cantlay's game suits itself to major championships where the scores are very low, but at the same time I just don't know if he really has that it factor to get him there.
And honestly, okay, so I didn't really look at Patrick Cantlay's I haven't even looked at him where he's on my model. I know nothing about Patrick Cantlay this week because I just made a concerted effort after the PGA Championship that I was just done, because I could bet 100 units and I still probably won't break even on Patrick Cantlay bets at this point. So I'm just done. I'm just going to walk away cold turkey, whatever. But I mean, it's not like I'm looking at his last 5 years at the U.S. Open. I know they're all different courses, but U.S. Open type courses all tend to have similar traits to an extent.
Right.
He's 15th the last 2 years, but 43rd, a 21st, a 45th. He hasn't really been, like you said, truly in contention ever at a U.S. Open. So it's just such an easy fade there, on Patrick Cantlay that, even outside of my personal distaste now for him, just in general, there's so much better value in this top tier. And I think Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm, DraftKings purposes for lineups, betting purposes. I don't know if you've used your plus 300. There's a boost on DraftKings for plus 300. There's a link. If you're not part of DraftKings, you can sign up using my link in the bio of the show. Always looking for that free bet or free bonus from them for you guys to do that. I think Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm are the plays. I know some people, my man, I forget who was in my comments on Twitter today, was telling me that he's all in on Brooks Koepka, but I think it's Scheffler, Rahm. They're the top two guys, obviously, for a reason.
Yeah, I think Scotty. Everyone's gonna say Scotty because oh, he can't putt that bad again. I mean, but really, Scotty's lost 8 strokes putting over the last 2 tournaments he's played. Like he's it's just not going well for him.
He's actually lost more than that over the last 2. He lost 8.5 just at the Memorial.
Yes, that's right.
4.6 at the Charles Schwab, and he still finished in 3rd place in both of them.
Yeah, so and this is the problem. I mean, if Scotty even just loses 4 strokes at the Memorial, he wins instead of 8. And it wouldn't have been close. He would have won by 3 or 4 strokes.
Absolutely.
So here's the problem. The way that Scotty's been putting, and I just don't know. Because this has been an all year thing. This has been really bad, and things had to break right at the WM Phoenix Open for him. Things had to break right at the Arnold Palmer for him, or not the Arnold Palmer, the Players for him to win. And
even at the Players, his win, he basically broke even putting. He was 0.1 gain strokes there,
right?
So I mean, you look at it. Byron Nelson, 5th place, 0.1. He gained. The PGA, he gained 1.5 strokes at the PGA putting. His tee degree, I think we're going to talk about approach games. We'll talk about, off the tee, all these things. I just think tee to green is so important at a course like this.
Yep.
And he's just so much better than everybody else by tenfold.
Yep.
And
let's put it this way.
It's been since October, the last time he didn't finish in the top 12 in a tournament.
I know. It's 16 straight tournaments. That was my angle for the Memorial, and I put that out. If you remember, I put that out there like the Tuesday before the Memorial started. I'm like, this is the most locked bet you can make, regardless of how he does with the flat stick. The odds are much better than plus 140 or plus 160, whatever it was, that he was going to finish in the top 10. And despite the fact that it didn't look like it for the entire tournament that he was going to finish there, he did, of course. But the facts remain the facts, and Scotty Scheffler is 80th in this field in strokes gained putting on bent grass greens.
Absolutely, and I agree. I just feel like, so first off, on a DraftKings purposes,
DraftKings is much more tenable.
Projected owned guy right now, but still under 20% projected ownership right now. I'm doing 41 lineups at least this week. I guarantee he's in over 50%. He's going to be my highest exposed guy. Give me him at 25%, and I don't care, because you're guaranteeing yourself a 5th or 6th place at worst. I don't like betting guys at 7-1, 6-1, 8-1 on the outright.
Right.
I preferred to I have my budget. Everybody's got their budget on betting. I use 3 full units. I've never bet 3 full units on a golfer ever before to win outright, and I used the plus 300 boost to get him to 10-1, and I feel very confident at 10-1. And so I used some smaller, half unit bets down my card. I used, less outrights overall on my card for a major. And I'm just more confident on Scott. Like, instead of taking a 20-1 or a 25-1 or a 30-1 golfer, I'd rather just put all my eggs in the Scotty Scheffler basket.
Right. And my feeling
this year, he's a guy that's going to win 3 to 4 times a year on average. Why not this week?
Yep. I totally agree. I mean, it's kind of nuts to me that Scotty Scheffler only has one major tournament. With all that we've talked about him over the past 16 months, it's really nuts that he only has that one major, at the Masters last year. But but the problem to me is that if you use Scotty, it's a very tight card. You're kind of locking yourself into one bullet at the top, and really like you said, putting all your eggs in that one basket. It's really not bad to put all your eggs in Scotty Scheffler's basket. Like we said, it's pretty good bet. I think what I'm gonna do instead is, instead of taking the 7-1 that he's at right now, I think I'm gonna put him go to get top 5 or a top 10, which are both still plus money. The top 10, barely.
Top 5 for him right now.
Top 5 is plus 180 for him.
That's still really, that's a strong bet right there. You can make a really strong bet at that there. My question for you, I think you said you're much higher on Jon Rahm. We'll get to him in a second. But let me ask you this. So he lost, let me pull it back up here real quick, 8.5 strokes at the Memorial, finished in third place. Charles Schwab lost 4.6 strokes putting at Charles Schwab, finished in third place. If he loses 2 strokes at the U.S. Open, does he win?
But is that enough? Will he
That's what I'm saying.
be
If he gets his putter to almost back to even at like minus 1.5 or minus 2, so that's still below average, but it's more closer to the average. Does
Yeah,
that
I
get him
guess
win?
I guess it depends on what he does in the other facets of his game. Like, does he regress a little bit because he's focusing so much on the putter that his tee to green game struggles a little bit. I mean, if he gains 5 or 6 strokes around again, tee to green like he did at the Memorial, yes, he'll win. And Scotty's the one player in this field that if the putter breaks right, he can run away with this tournament. And by run away, I mean like it looks like the Masters last year, where he won by 6 strokes.
So I mean,
that's very easy for him to do that.
You say run away. I wrote something down here today when I was doing my research. I wrote down projected a -7 to a -9 winning score this week is probably my average guess. But if Scotty Scheffler putts even, he could probably get it to 12 or 13 under.
I don't know if it gets to there. I think what I'm gonna end up at here, I mean, based on what everyone said, like, they said this is gonna play like Southern Hills, and it's gonna play very tight. I was thinking more, in the 4 to 6 range, maybe 7. I haven't looked at the weather yet. Look, this course is just gonna get baked so hard. I don't know if these guys are going to get that many birdie opportunities, even with how good Scotty is, how high he hits that ball, the moon balls. I just don't know. So, it's a struggle for me to know, what he can do. So, I would more go, if Scotty goes even and, he's a monster tee to green like he normally is, maybe 7 to 8 is in play for him. Ceiling of 9, but I don't know if I would go much higher than that.
Okay. Adam, hang
and
tight.
I think he's the only guy that can get to that number.
I want to get Sam's thoughts on Jon Rahm, Adam, and then we will get to your other comment here about top 10 and 5 bets outside of these top guys. But then, okay, so you're saying, not saying I'm wrong, but you're not as high on Scotty Scheffler as me. You're higher on Jon Rahm, right?
Correct.
And why is that?
I just think Rahm is truly look, this is more a thought that Rahm is a more well-rounded player at this point in the calendar year than Scotty is, just because of the putting. And Rahm has had some issues of his own with the putter, lately. But I'm more confident that Rahm can put those issues to rest than I am Scotty, just because we've seen Rahm be better with this putter at times this year than we have with Scotty. And truly, I said it back at the Masters that was like 60% of my cap on the Masters was that there is nobody scarier in the golf world than Jon Rahm when he puts on, his helmet to go to work. And, when he's on, he's really, really on. And I think Rahm, is chomping at the bit. I really don't think that he's been bothered by the drama that's engulfed the PGA Tour as much as the true PGA Tour loyalists have been. I don't think Rahm was ever that much of a loyalist. And I know we said we wouldn't talk about this as much. There was a rumor that there was a PGA Tour golfer that was about to sign a deal with LIV. Whether it was true or not, all signs pointed to it being Rahm. I think Rahm was closer to leaving than most people would care to admit. I think Rahm was perfectly okay with whatever happened. I think this is not even close to on Rahm's mind. We haven't heard him say a thing about it. I don't think he is thinking about it. Rahm just wants to go play golf. I think this is a perfect place for him to go play. He's above average in every single category here. And the only thing he's below average in is putting. And he's still miles better than Scotty's been with the flat stick this year.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a lot of great points, and I love your point. I know we're not going to spend a lot of time on that the LIV PGA controversy, because I actually think that that's something that the distraction, whatnot, is kind of why I'm down on Rory right now. I know I don't know where he finished exactly last week at the RBC, but I know he was on the leaderboard.
Ninth or 10th.
I know he was on that leaderboard for a majority of the time. But I agree, Rahm I just think Rahm could win. But first off, for DraftKings purposes, I think Rahm's ceiling to floor is a lot wider than what
Oh,
Freddie.
absolutely, absolutely. I think it from a DraftKings state of mind. Like, look, we talk about the numbers and betting here.
Yeah,
From 7-1 to what he is now. I think he's 10-1 or 11-1. I took him at 11-1. I heard he dropped to 10-1.
that's great.
Um, there's a massive gulf from 7 to 11
Yeah,
rather than the gulf from 11-4 to 11-1.
okay.
There's a massive gulf. So, it's much more tenable to play Scotty in DraftKings than it is to bet Scotty. So, I'm totally fine with that. I think if you want to go ahead and play Scotty, I think you're fine. I don't think you're sacrificing a lot of, equity, building down your lineups there. I do think from a value standpoint, I think you're getting a little bit more with Rahm when you bet him rather than betting Scotty, given the fact that you have to tighten up your card so much. You can do a little bit more with Rahm at an 11-1 number. It's a little bit more tenable, and then you have the same ceiling. You just have a little bit of a lower floor.
Absolutely. All right, real quick before we move on to some of these other names, I want to bring up two other top tier names here. So you've pretty much covered everybody almost, but Brooks, after the Masters and just the way he's played this year, the few times we've seen him, he's actually played pretty solidly on the LIV Tour as well. I'm not hearing as much Brooks excitement as I thought I would. Winning the PGA, being contention at the Masters, like after the Masters, it was all Brooks at the PGA talk. But now at the US Open, it's almost like it's simmered down a little bit, the hype around him. Are you excited at all for Brooks this week? Do you think he's got a chance this week at all?
I don't know if the quietness around Brooks is from people souring on him. I think one thing you get about for the benefit of being on LIV and that nobody's watching it is that these guys fly under the radar.
Yeah.
And that's why Brooks was such a good pick, for the guys who picked him at the PGA. And that's why he was a great pick at the Masters for those who got on the huge numbers before he came crashing down the board. Because these guys go under the radar, they think he can't play. The same thing happened to Dustin Johnson. Same thing happened to Patrick Reed, at the Masters. All those guys who Phil Mickelson, all those guys who finished well, despite what they did at the PGA, they were all very quietly so under the radar. And I don't think people are soured on Brooks at all. I mean, he's sorry. And when I said Patrick Cantlay was third earlier, I meant to say Brooks. Brooks is third on the leaderboard at 12-1. I mean, he's right there. He's right behind Rahm. People are back to Brooks being the best or one of the best golfers in the world. And look, it was not that long ago that we considered Brooks to be the very best player in the world, and that was only 4 or 5 years ago. So it was not something that happened to him. It was the back surgery. It was the knee surgery. It was, everything that happened to Brooks with his injuries, but the talent was never gone from Brooks. He just went to LIV.
Yeah.
He just, that happened and that, and nobody talked about him. So I think this is a perfect course for Brooks. We my buddy Joey Sodor from Tour Picks, Preferred Lines podcast, he tweeted out, something more in jest because it was a Denny McCarthy troll. But he tweeted that athletes win the U.S. Opens. Bryson Brooks, all these other, big strapping guys, Gary Woodland, all these big strapping guys, 6'3", 230. The athletes win the U.S. Opens because these are hard walks.
Right.
Brooks is an athlete. He's still 6'4", 240. He's one of the strongest guys, to hit a golf ball. If he were better, I would say Scott Stallings had a chance to win this thing. So, but, look, I think Brooks has as good a shot as Scotty or Rahm. And I think with the form he's in, I think he's even got a better shot. I'm not willing to put Brooks on the pedestal because outside of the majors, he hasn't shown that consistency. Like on LIV. And sure, he played well, but he's also coming off a few benders over the last
so
last
he
month,
came off
month
his
and a half.
bender when he finished 12 at the DC event, which was the last LIV event. So, I mean, not great, not awful. 12
Not
out of
terrible.
whatever. How many players?
12 out of 48.
Yeah,
12 out
whatever.
of 48. So I mean, he finished in the top quarter. That's like finishing top 30, top 35 on a PGA Tour event.
Right.
It's not terrible, but it's not the best either. So I don't know. I have a buddy, Sticks Picks, over on Twitter. He releases these weighted odds with win implied probabilities. A spreadsheet every week. And despite Brooks being the third most expensive golfer on there, he only has the sixth highest weighted implied probability to win. So, I'm gonna fade Brooks this week. I think he'll play just fine. I think he'll probably be in contention. I think he probably, finishes in the top 20. I don't think he wins. I think I think it's too much to expect that Brooks is first or second in the third straight major of the year. After all the fanfare he's gotten over the last month.
That's a lot to ask. That is a lot.
It is a lot to ask. It's a lot to ask of any golfer.
Absolutely. Except for Scotty Scheffler. Because
Scotty's a robot.
Yeah. Well, I do. So using Scotty Scheffler's name, it segue into the next thing. Because as we get down to the 9K and those 20 to 1s and down guys, on the board, there's so many talent guys. You got Rory, you've got Xander, you got, Jordan Spieth, who I hear a lot of hype about Jordan Spieth this week, and I'm not sure. But two guys in this range also, along with Scotty Scheffler, played this course before. Years ago when the Walker Cup was here. You had Max Homa, you had Colin Morikawa that have experience. And I don't know about you, but I know a lot of the golf content creators like myself got Max Homa months ago when he was in that 35 to 45 to 1 range. And I'm still in love with Max Homa on this course. I know he hasn't had great success this year, but he's still a damn good golfer that I think could do well. Are you playing into it was the Walker Cup. It was a totally different type of course then. These golfers are totally different now than they were years ago. Are you taking any of that experience into account this week, or any of the golfers that played here before into account?
Yeah, so I have a Homa future as well. I have 35 to 1 that I took 3 or 4 months ago. But Homa's was even further than the Walker Cup. Homa's was 2013 when he played in college. And I think I want to say it was UCLA. No, that was Patrick Cantlay. I can't remember. No, he was playing on Cal. I want to say it was Cal. But anyways, Homa set the course record here, 61.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
And it was 3 years after the Gil Hanse renovation in 2010. So, he has that course history to draw on, and he's obviously a member. But we have to remember, this course has changed, periodically over time. The bunkers have been deepened, and, things have been, the greens have been undulated a bit more. Things have changed. And like you said, Homa's not playing his best golf right now. So, despite me having the future, am I high on him? I think he's got a shot to win. I think his familiarity will give him a little bit of a leg up. But and I do think his game fits this course very well. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if he's going to get all the way there this week.
See, and this is interesting because I always build one lineup for DraftKings with all my bets. So all the guys I bet, my long shots and my favorites, I built just to do it because I do have a tendency to pick a lot of like the outright bets. They all finish in the top 10 or 12 or something like that all the time. But Max Homa is almost like, and this is an interesting question I want to pose. If you didn't have a future on Max Homa, and he was, I don't know what he's at now, 25 or 31, would you be betting Max Homa right now to win this event? And my answer is no.
Yeah, I think I would probably feel very similarly. I think the problem when you get to Homa is just we have nothing to draw on in major championships from him. He has no top 10s in any major. And people have been pointing to this one for 2-3 years at this point, as it's Max Homa time. But it's been Max Homa time since last year when he went on a run. We thought Max Homa time was coming a long time ago, and it hasn't happened yet. It really, I don't know. I want to say that Max Homa has as good a shot of any golfer to win this week. And while that's technically true, I just don't know. He tends to do some stupid stuff early in the week and shoot himself out of contention a little bit. And in a major championship, you really just can't do that. You really have to be on your game. And I'm sure he knows that as as well as anyone that LACC is going to be a massive test. And, it's a very funky course layout. I think Coma's really going to need to be on his game. I think Thursday is going to tell us a lot. I'm not exactly sure who he's playing with, but we'll see what happens with him. I got the outright on him. I think I'm just going to keep the outright on him. I'm not going to play him in any placements, and we're going to go for the ceiling play with him.
It's crazy. When I thought about it, when I was typing up for Twitter all my outrights, and I'm like, oh yeah, I do have an outright on Homa. Let me go dig it up and see what I bet him at. And I'm like, would I be like, so when I'm doing my DraftKings, I'm like, would I be betting him if he wasn't? I'm like, that's such an interesting way to think about it. And I don't know. What about the rest of these guys in this range? Rory, Xander, Colin, Jordan Spieth, the defending champion, Matthew Fitzpatrick. You got the first LIV guy after Brooks in Cam Smith down here. Any of these guys you're eyeing up on your betting card or you think would be good plays DraftKings wise?
Yeah, Spieth is another guy who's made it onto my betting card so far. I have a future on him from about a month and a half ago at 28-1. It's pretty similar number to what's floating out there right now.
Right.
But Spieth's the guy. I think that's another perfect fit for this golf course. He's long enough to do everything, and he's good enough around the green to take care of a lot of the tight lies that these golfers are going to face. Rick Rungood also said a lot of these guys are chipping off the green instead of putting because they just can't get it to stop. Otherwise, there's nobody better in the world than chipping from the bunkers and playing around the green than Jordan Spieth is. He really just is like the best around the green player on tour, and he just does some magical things there. He's also just very good with the long irons. I think every facet of his game sets up really well for this course.
My only question though is the wrist. And now I know
I think the wrist is fine. It's been almost a month. It's been almost a month. I think.
I mean, I know the fairways are a little wider than typical, but the rough. You've seen the videos and the clips on Facebook or Twitter. That rough is just U.S. Open thick. He lands.
The rough actually isn't that bad. It's only 3 to 4 inches. It's Bermuda grass.
I've seen it's not going to be too dropping balls in the rough. And
maybe they did say it's a little thicker. It gets a little thicker around the green.
Yeah. I worry about when you have a wrist issue.
Oh yeah.
U.S. Open quality rough. In my mind, that's just a red flag. That especially DraftKings wise, building lineups, you put him in 10 lineups, and all of a sudden he hurts that wrist and he has to withdraw, or he fades away. You're kind of setting yourself up for some failure there.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's a possibility, but I think we've seen enough out of him. I think he's played 3 or 4 tournaments with it now, and it's played pretty well at this point. I don't really have any concern.
Okay,
and truthfully, that there's quite a few other guys in this range I think are good around Spieth. Guys I'm fading in this range, Morikawa. I think something's really off with him. The back spasm, him withdrawing from the Memorial with back spasms while literally in the thick of things, a few shots back, like that was the clearest sign that we've had in months that something is wrong with Morikawa. I don't know. Fitzpatrick, I'm not ready to believe that someone's going to repeat back to back. This course sets up decently well for him. Also, you have to take into account he got his braces off, so that's a huge thing.
I love. Were you the one that tweeted that out too earlier?
I was not. I did see it. I did see it, and then I resolved that I was going to make a mention of it somewhere.
I thought that was one of the funniest tweets of the week so far.
It was really good. I think it was Brian Kirshner that tweeted that out. He's always done the
seems like something he would say. BK.
Yeah, absolutely. Rory's just a guy who I think is he's fully distracted. I don't think I don't think he's quite there. I think this price absolutely reflects the nature of his his recent finishes. He climbs into contention, he falls away on Sunday. It's completely the opposite of the Rory that we've come to expect.
Yeah.
If it's anything like the Rory we've come to expect in recent years, he'll be out of contention for the first 3 days and come roaring back in on Sunday just for it to be too late.
Yeah. I think that sounds pretty fair.
Schauffele, quietly, very, very solid lately. His last three U.S. Opens have all had top 6 finishes.
Mhm.
So that's an interesting thing that I found this morning.
I did bet him outright. He's my second, highest or best odd guy that I bet because of his U.S. Open history. The fact that I think Xander will win a major at some point, it probably will be a U.S. Open in my opinion.
Mhm.
And at 20-1, I thought it was a fair bet to get him at 20-1, and I like the chances there of him for sure.
Yeah, it's the lowest number that you're gonna get on Xander most cases.
Mhm.
So I do think 20-1 is probably the number that you can take him at. I took him to place top 10 and top 20. He's on the card at plus 240 top 10, plus 110 top 20. So I like
Better
those.
than money at top 20 for Xander Schauffele.
Yeah, like you really can't beat that.
Yeah,
So
past that.
I saw that as a really high EV bet there. But I don't know if that it's just the unknown factor with me, and I'm a big I routinely find myself missing the boat on guys, laying off them for too long,
Mhm.
and then getting back in on them after when their price is all juiced up. That's gonna happen to me with Shoffley. I never like to bet him outright. I'm not doing it now, and
Okay.
it could bite me in the ass at some point. Homa, we've talked about Homa. Cam Smith is the other guy in this range I wanted to talk about. And
I'm intrigued by Cam Smith this week for
so
sure.
am I because the non-penal rough that surrounds the fairways at LACC is going Smith's pretty much spraying of the driver. It's gonna help mitigate that. If he can get it out there and he can scramble and save par, and he's probably I would say that he's probably the best player in professional golf at scrambling to save par. That's gonna be one of the most key things about this golf course. And his scrambling ability is very good. Bogeys avoided. That's one of the things that he excels at the most there. So I really like that about him. Um, I'm
I,
not
I
sure
like
that's going to be enough for him to win.
I like he's in good form too. Like I'm not betting him. I'm going to use him a lot in DraftKings. I mean, he finished ninth at the PGA Championship, but then the afterwards at LIV he finished ninth. Second
Mhm.
before that, sixth, third. He's playing great golf. So whether
Mhm.
you're on LIV or whether you're on the PGA Tour, if you're in the top 10, you're in the top 10. There's not much you could say about it. And Cam Smith, it's almost like the same reasons why people like Jordan Spieth because of the less penal rough, the wider fairways, that the rollout you're going to get.
Mhm.
It's the same exact thing with Cam Smith, in my opinion. And I
Yeah.
just think Cam Smith, again, like you said, he's not going to win, but it would not shock me if he has like a T6 or something like that this week.
Yeah. I mean, it's always the fact that this is the kind of tournament where you don't have to pour in a lot of birdies. I don't think and that putter can get really hot for Cam. So if it comes time for him to start to need to make some putts, a birdie here and there, he can do it just as well as anyone. That his putting stroke is probably one of the best on professional golf, and I think he's going to be right there because of that. He's just got the all world iron game and all of that. So I think he's really priced well at 90-1, and he's pretty far down the board as well. He's not as far down the board when it comes to betting at 30-1,
Mhm.
but he is right there. And I
The
do
way I
think
look
he
at
has
it
a chance to win.
the way I look at it for DraftKings purposes too, I mean, right now, and it's early, it's Monday, it's so early on ownership percentage, and I don't buy into ownership percentage like other people do. But right now, he's projected at 10% ownership. Tyrell Hatton, who's the top guy in the 8K range at 8,900, is projected at 16% right now.
Mhm.
Jordan Spieth, just ahead of Cam Smith, is projected at 16%. Would you rather Jordan Spieth or Tyrell Hatton at 16% or Cam Smith at 10%? I mean, there's some great value there on Cam Smith that he's not, knock on wood, he's not missing the cut or anything like that, so you don't have to worry about that. So I love Cam Smith there for a DraftKings purposes, maybe a top 20 or something like that, but not for an outright. But yeah, so I think it's a smart play. How about down this board? I'm going to give you some names here in the 8K range. I know DraftKings purposes are different than betting. I might actually fade 100% of this 8K range because I like Xander so much and Scotty Scheffler so much. I'm going to have to play 7K guys around them. but I just think that there's something like giving me like this weird feeling. Like Justin Thomas, 8,700, he was 50 to 1 to win. Something tells me when you got Justin Thomas at 50 to 1, that's a
I think the books are I think the books are begging you to bet that number. I think that's the biggest red flag I've ever seen in my life. No, someone tweeted, "Are you betting Justin Thomas at 50 to 1?" And I replied, "Not today, Satan."
Yeah. I mean, I think I've had red flags now in my mind on Hatton, Finau, JT, DJ. Even I tried to trick myself into betting and playing Cam Young last week, and it didn't really work out in my favor. Like, there's not one name in this 8K range, this mid range here, that I would feel confident putting in a lot of lineups or making a bet on right now.
Yeah, and there are guys who are a little more consistent in this range that I think some people would like to take. Like Sungjae comes to mind as someone who's really consistent, but
he's had an inconsistent year this
just
year.
Not really. It's the majors where he's crumbled. He's crumbled in the majors.
He missed the cut. Charles Schwab, 41st at the Memorial. I don't know.
It's a little inconsistent, but
yeah,
he crumbles in majors. I'm not willing to take him in a major. I think he makes some stupid mistakes sometimes, and I don't know if he's ready, especially not for a U.S. Open. Give me him at a tournament like the Open or the Masters. I think those are much more suitable venues for him than a PGA Championship or a U.S. Open. Tyrrell Hatton is the guy in this range that piques my curiosity. It's him or Finau. I am so toxic that I might actually add Tony Finau to my card. It's because I like to make myself feel pain. I believe that Tony Finau also likes to feel pain, which is why he continues to play so well and then completely fall apart when it comes to the majors.
I would say he's missed 3 of the last 4 cuts at the U.S. Open.
So he likes to.
I know he's got a 5th and an 8th place around that, but he has really struggled with U.S. Open stuff. And hell, Hatton's missed 2 of the last 3 cuts at the U.S. Open.
Right.
Like, I know all these U.S. Open courses are different.
I think we have to talk. I think we have to more focus on recent form and course comp history than actual event history with that. At least that's been my tack.
There's something about the U.S. Open that I don't know. They're all different, but it's the same level of competition. It's the same super difficult style of course. I don't know. I don't know. I get what you're saying where you might like just fall into a trap and bet Finau or Hatton. I think Finau and Hatton are better bets. Taking a long shot little bet on, not long shot odd wise, but long shot bet on them. Then there's a chance there's not one click in DraftKings for me in this 8K range.
Yeah, I do. Looking at this range, I do see a lot of names that I would like to fade if I were playing DFS this week. Shane Lowry is a guy that I will absolutely not have anywhere on my cards. I've been so invested in him the last few weeks. He's done nothing but burn me. Hideki is still grappling with his neck injury here and there. It definitely bothered him a couple of weeks ago. Dustin Johnson fell apart at the PGA. He can compete. He's one of those athletes that can definitely compete at a U.S. Open. But the question is, can he win one at 38 years old? LACC is a very tough walk. One of the golf analysts that were following some of these practice rounds said, a lot of these older guys are going to have a lot of trouble walking this course. It's a very tough walk.
Tiger Woods isn't playing this week.
Well, Tiger's not playing because he had ankle surgery 2 months ago. But I digress.
Ankle surgery is a good reason not to walk this course.
Yep. Absolutely. Burns is a guy that I would be a little bit intrigued on. I think Burns has the game to play here. The question is, can he avoid some of the stupid mistakes he tends to make in tournaments like this? The same thing with Jason Day. Can he avoid the mistakes? But both those guys are seasoned players. I would rely on them. Honestly, I think those are probably the 2 best plays in the 8K range are Burns and Day. Okay. If I was playing DraftKings, those are the 2 that I would look at this range. Otherwise, I think I'm with you. It's pretty nearly a full fade for me.
Yeah. So let's get into that 7K range because I told you before the show. I've got right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got 21 names written down that I may play, I may click on, and whatnot. And I'm really struggling to differentiate between some of these guys. Like I love Tagala. I think Sahith Theegala.
I love this 7K range.
I
We'll start
I could
there.
get all over him. I could
Yeah.
get all over Joakim Neiman. I could get all over Patrick Reed this week. Mito Pereira, I think.
Dude, you're reading my mind.
I
You're
mean,
just reading off my notes.
All right, so I'll give you some other names that probably aren't your Ryan Fox.
I love Ryan Fox this week. Ryan Fox this week.
How about Justin Sue?
I don't know. I'm not gonna bet. I'm not gonna bet Sue. I think his performance at the PGA was a little bit fluky, and the Memorial was definitely a fluke, man.
Well, let me go down and pull up
crashed and burned there.
Complete season stats. He's awful in my model. He ranks 86 in my model.
Let's see
he's
mine.
only missed one cut since the CJ Cup in October.
He ranks 100th in my model.
86 and 900 than yours. He's not going to contend. I did just for Kyle because Kyle says I never listen to him, and every time Kyle says bet Sue, he finishes like really highly, and I never do. So I did take a flyer. I bet $1. $1 whole dollar. I got him. Let me pull my sheet up on bet 250 to 1. I bet $1.
I mean, nothing wrong with that to win.
No, nothing wrong with that at all.
Nothing wrong with that.
But I think at 7,100 on DraftKings, that as long as he makes the cut, you get your payoff on.
Yeah.
And
I definitely agree there. It's going to be very, very, with the 60 and ties making the cut, it's going to be very, very hard to get a six of six, through to the weekend. Other guys in this 7K range that I really love, Corey Connors is always going to be there on a course that favors strong approach game and strong driving off the tee. It's just his putter that makes me scared. List to fade him. Justin Rose is a guy I really like this week as well. I'm actually considering squeezing him onto my outright card at 70 to 1. Bryson is a guy who I really, really think is a very, very, very sneaky dart throw. He is 50 to 1, so he's a little, the name recognition pushes him up the betting board a lot higher than he is on the DraftKings board. He at 7,600, he's a near slam dunk DraftKings play.
Hold on, let me pull. He's at 11, and he's only at 11% projected ownership right now, so that's still actually pretty solid.
Yeah,
you say 50 to 1. I guess I missed it because I got 45 to 1 on Bryson. I think that there's a lot of live guys in this 7K range that I like this week. Like I said, like Reed, Neiman, Mito this week. But I think Bryson, he's actually just like Brooks. He's actually healthy now.
Yeah, exactly.
And I really think he can make a difference this week.
Absolutely, I totally agree. It's same. We saw it at the PGA. What a rejuvenated Bryson looks like. It's the Bryson that we saw a few years ago winning majors. We know he can do it.
Kyle must be like distant cousins with Justin Sue because all I get every single week on this show is Justin Sue comments. So they must be distant.
He's being a quiet ninja in the comments, just waiting for us to bring up Sue.
He's been waiting for it. And we're in this 7K range, and there's a lot of great names that we like. So Adam had asked earlier, outside the top guys, are there any? And like this 7K range, are there any guys that you like for top 10 or top 5 bets in this range? The long shot guys.
Yeah, Ryan Fox is a guy that I think can really, really get up there. I took top 20 on him plus 500. Ryan Fox is a big game hunter. Like he's a very good player. I mean, he does, the fact that nobody really knows who he is because he comes from the DP World Tour.
Right.
But he's got a pair of top 30s in the previous 2 majors this year. He has 9 top 30 results in his last 10 worldwide starts. And he plays well in these fast, firm golf courses. So he's a really good DFS play at the number that he's at, which is write down the number at 7,100. That's a great number, I think.
Good.
Fox played really well, the last few weeks as well. I think he's a good player. Denny McCarthy is going to be another guy that might squeeze onto my placement card this week. Just the putting alone, he's the best bent grass putter on tour.
Do you have top?
He's got to be.
Do you have top 40s up on your screen right now?
I do not.
I would say if you can get even money or better on McCarthy top 40, I think it's a slam dunk bet.
I will pull it up right now.
I really do because I absolutely love Denny McCarthy this week.
I do as well. McCarthy's a near slam dunk play. I think he's gonna be really pissed after losing at the Memorial. He really should not have lost that.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Let's see.
While you're saying
Scroll
that, I'm
all
going
the
to
way
bring up
down.
another name that's at the bottom of the 7K range, and that's Austin Eckroat. Austin Eckroat in this type of field, and in this field should be in the 6K range.
Mhm.
The fact that he's at 7K, I always look for mispriced guys because mispriced guys affect ownership. And Austin Eckroat has only missed one cut in his last 9 events or 8 events.
And he's been playing well.
He's been playing really well. He's made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row, 6 out of his last
And
7.
he's another one of these big guys, another one of these big strapping guys. He's like 6'3", 220. I mean, he can walk this course, he can muscle it up there. I think he's gonna be good. Danny McCarthy top 40, by the way, is plus 125 up at 365.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'm always looking for these mispriced guys, and I think Eckroat is one of those guys that in a field where you got guys down in the 6K range, like Kitayama, who's the 20th ranked player in the world, he's at 6,800. That's mispriced.
Right.
Adam Hadwin, 6,900, mispriced. Austin Eckroat at 7. I think nobody's gonna click his name at 7K, and he's a guy that's got a high probability of making the cut, and I think you get some great value with him. I wouldn't bet him, but if you bet him or you put him on your card at 7K and he makes the cut, he pays off instantly. So I think that people are going to overlook in this range a lot.
I think Eric Cole's another guy at 7K that you can probably get some DFS exposure to. I don't know. He's not going to string together 4 great rounds, but he can make the cut. I think he's a first round leader bet that I'll probably end up making. Let's see. There's a couple other guys around here. I'm gonna fade Adam Hadwin probably because he's still nursing a pretty sick bruise.
Pretty sick ego too because he got tackled.
Ego bruise. Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but I'm actually in my mind thinking all the guys that were on the green celebrating. I'm kind of feeling like you have to fade them all this week.
Yeah, it's
that was
tough
probably
there.
one big celebration in Canada on Sunday night.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It definitely pops in your mind of guys like Corey Connors as well. Guys who might be a little up there. Patrick Rogers is a guy 6,900 who's interesting. He's always interesting to me because I think he's really, really good, and I think he's gonna win soon. And something I don't know if you caught this. They were at the Memorial last week, and Patrick Rogers was kind of deep in the hunt, and they were talking to Jack about these golfers, and Jack was sharing them. He gets to Patrick Rogers, like, oh my God, Patrick Rogers is such a good golfer. He's so good in juniors. He just hasn't quite got there yet on the tour, but he's gonna win soon. Just watch out for this guy. And when Jack talks, you're supposed to listen. Jack knows his stuff. Like, I think there's something about Rogers. He's not gonna win this week, but he can definitely get it up there. He's a good par 5 player, good par 3 player. A very good putter, gets it up there. He's good. Brian Harmon's another guy who I think, navigates these positional courses really well. Doesn't make a ton of mistakes. He can get hot, with the putter. He's good with that putter sometimes.
Right.
How
about the other Young? Carson Young versus Cam Young.
I don't know anything about him. I've never bet him at anything.
He's a guy, so he's made 5 of his last 6 cuts. He's basically this year, he's only missed 3 cuts this year. He's got a 3rd place, a couple top 15s. He's great putter. Gain strokes putting 5 straight events. Gain strokes 3 out of 5 tee to green. Gain strokes all 5 on approach. I mean, he's actually kind of better than Cam Young at this point, or having a better season than Cam Young. I like him a little bit, especially on the DraftKings side. There's another guy down here, and I love to find one super, super cheap option. One super cheap option that, I could play a Scotty Scheffler and Xander Schauffele lineup if I go and I use a guy at like 6,400. And there is a guy specifically at 6,400 I like, and that's Dylan Wu.
Yep, knew you were going to say it.
I know he's missed 2 of his last 3 cuts, but they are the only 2 cuts he's missed since the Farmers back in January. And he's got 15th, the 21st, the 25th. He's got all a 16th there. a 10th at the Honda. He putts really well outside of his last 2 events. He's really good tee to green outside of 2 events. I love Dylan Wu this week. If you want to get creative with a stars and scrubs style lineup.
I want to give you one more guy in the
Okay.
6K range,
Okay.
and but he goes against our Canadian thing that we're
Okay.
just talking about. But it's Mackenzie Hughes.
Oh, he's on my list. He's on my
Yeah,
list. Don't you worry. He's on my
yeah.
probable, maybe kind of list there. I do
I
like.
think I think he's gonna be again I'm not a DFS guy. I don't know where his ownership's gonna be. I would guess it's gonna be on the lower side. Maybe 6-7%.
Right now.
I could see
Wait, hold on.
Mackenzie being
What
very
did you
good there.
project them at?
I said 6 or 7.
All right. Well, so I haven't refreshed the screen because I hate refreshing things mid-show. Never know what's going to happen on the screen here. So in the last hour and a half, an hour and a half ago, he was projected at 1.4% ownership.
Wow. Yeah,
That's
cheap.
that's instead of out of 41 lineups, instead of 1 or 2 clicks at that percentage, you're getting 5 or 6 clicks out of him at that percentage.
Yeah, and he's a nice, wrap it all up, close it with a bow type of guy there. I mean, he's the putter, he's the putting guy. So, and he's one of the better fast green putters, on tour. I think he's going to be really good there. He's something I noted, the last time a U.S. Open was held in California at Torrey Pines, Hughes held a share of the 54-hole lead before collapsing and shooting, I believe it was a 6 or 7 under round on Sunday to finish in a share of 15th place. The guy just, he's good and he plays well. So I think he's going to be a good player. I think he's going to be good this week. Again, he's a guy that's, obviously more of a placement DFS play than anything else. But again, he's a nice, very extremely low-owned guy.
Give me a top 40 bet on Mackenzie Hughes, and I'm all for it. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? All right, so let's wrap this show up with a bow here, with a couple questions here, a couple points to wrap it up. We've seen a lot of golf tournaments lately. How do I say it? Coming down the wire, last 10 holes, like the last day, the last 10 holes, a lot of guys in contention. 16, 17, 18 at this whole course at LA Country Club are 3 long par 4s to close it out.
Yeah,
I think they're listed at over 1,500 yards combined, those last 3 holes.
Yeah, they are.
Are we going to see this Sunday? It's going to be prime time, Father's Day, the barbecue's over, dads are sitting down, me with my dogs, we're sitting down, we're watching the U.S. Open. Are the last 3 holes going to decide it in the closing couple groups? Or is this going to be a week that a Rahm or a Scheffler kind of not pull away, but have a comfortable lead and they can just par their way, coast their way to victory?
I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to think about because we've never seen a tournament be played here, so we really don't know how anything was going to play out.
Yeah.
And obviously the Walker Cup was not played at major level conditions. It's tough. It's really tough to think about. In preceding this, you have that really short par 3 that, depending on the hole location, could post as short as 80 yards. And then the par 5 over 600 yards right before it. Yeah. It's going to be a weird stretch of holes coming in. You got 4 holes in the 500 range, all par 4s coming in.
I'm curious to see how they play those 2 long par 3s. The two,
yeah, those are going to be nuts. So you got to think those are going to play 2 of the hardest holes on the course, right?
The one, I think it's 11 or 12, is listed at 290. They're saying
11 is listed at 290. Can play 303.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's some of the shorter hitters, the older guys on tour. They're
hitting driver.
Yeah, I mean, can you stop a driver on the green for them?
No,
no. And then you run it off. Yeah, you literally are screwed. I'm really excited for those par 3s to see how I'm curious to see how like a Matt Kuchar plays like a 303-yard par 3. That intrigues me because that gives me an idea how to play these kind of holes when I'm out.
Right.
All right, so you got to go all in. Who's your all-in play? You can only make one bet this week. Is it John Rahm, or are you going somewhere else? It's your all-in play this week. That he's in every lineup. He's your only bet of the week. Who would it be?
Yeah, when asked questions like these, I typically default to who is my strongest lean, and my strongest lean this week is probably going to be Rahm. Just typically because at a U.S. Open, it's so tough to really get too different from the field. It's so tough to find a leverage play. Someone who's going to come out of the pack. Come out of that mid-range group of guys down the betting board. I just don't know that we're going to see someone at this tough a golf course come out of nowhere to do it. I think if it's someone, it's going to be Rahm or Scotty. I've been pretty firm, steadfast in the fact that I'm going to put my chips in Rahm's corner. I'm going to go with him. I'm gonna go with John Rahm, and I think that I think we see angry Rahm this week.
Yep. And you know what? And if Scotty Scheffler is the wrong pick, then I would be perfectly fine with it being John Rahm, because I love watching John Rahm play golf anyway. I will say, out of all the guys I've bet, all the guys I've got lineups on, all the things I'm thinking of doing that I haven't done, because I'm still so early in building my card this week. I will say, Bryson DeChambeau, 45-1.
Yeah.
If a LIV guy wins, if a guy outside of the top 5 or 6 guys is there at the top of the board with a chance to win on Sunday, I think with his length, with him being healthy, a former U.S. Open champion, I think Bryson DeChambeau could win this event. He's not my all-in play, but he would be my second out of my 5, 6 outrights, counting my future on Homa. But Bryson would be my second favorite bet that I've made this week.
Yeah, I was talking to someone else who has a Bryson future that they bet a few months ago, and they were saying at the time it was a bet they made while drunk, and they woke up with it one morning and were like, oh, okay,
they're the best bets, the worst bets.
And I told him, I'm like, it's just a great bet. Like, he's a very good putter.
Yep.
It's out of nowhere. He's healthy. I mean, he hit the ball really well at Oak Hill. I mean, this Bryson is a big game hunter. He shows up, and he's done it before. We've seen him win a U.S. Open before.
I know we promised not to talk about the whole LIV PGA controversy. I felt kind of contradictory making the Bryson bet after he did that, appearance on CNN with Caitlin Collins and all he said. And I was like,
looks really stupid now. It
looks really stupid what he said. But when the whole LIV PGA thing happened, the merger, I'm like, how can I still be on board with the PGA? But then I said to myself, I'm like, betting and personal beliefs are 2 totally different things, in my opinion. I'm just looking at this from a pure betting standpoint. And I think Bryson DeChambeau, if I was doing a power rankings on chances to win this event, I have a feeling that Bryson DeChambeau might crack my top 5. Maybe in that 5 spot, but he might crack my top 5 on chances to win this event.
I think Bryson's become a lot more relatable. Over the last year or so, I think, as he's become less of like a mad scientist and more of like a less jacked, guy wearing a stupid Kangol hat. He becomes more likable.
Jack and hat Bryson. I was Team Bryson over Team Brooksy, 100%. I won't lie. I almost bought the Team Bryson. Was it Rick that was selling the Team Bryson?
I don't remember.
One of the top content guys in golf was selling shirts that said Team Bryson or Team Brooks, and I was this close to purchasing a Team Brooks shirt or Bryson shirt. I was all Bryson. Jason will verify that for you.
I definitely could see it, but I do think Bryson is a good bet. I think he's going to make his way onto a placement, if not not an outright for me, and we'll see where it goes from there. I have to be careful not to load up the card too much. I already have 6 guys on it right now. It's Rahm, Spieth, and Homa in the top bracket, and then long shots. I have Neiman, Siwoo, and Thigala at 85, 125, and 140. So
Siwoo. Is there a guy? Because, I know we said we'd wrap this up, but I just thought of something I meant to ask you. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago? One of the last 2 Scotty Scheffler events. Like, I hate betting 7-1 guys, 8-1 guys, and I try to make a note of guys I like, but I'm waiting to see if their odds drop. And a couple of weeks ago, I bet Scotty Scheffler after round 2 at like 30-1, and he climbed back into contention. Is there that one golfer that you like, but you just don't like their odds, and you're going to zone in to see how they do after round 1 or round 2 and see if their odds improve?
Yeah, if I have to be honest, it's probably Victor Hovland.
Okay, yeah.
It's probably Hovland, and I never bet Hovland. I'm not a fan. it's something about the way he dresses. I don't think
Everybody hates the dress.
someone who dresses that loudly is allowed to win a major championship. But
If iconic chatter is still watching, because he watches every morning show, his drip is very mid in our opinion. Iconic wants me to use like cool terms kids use, and so I try to find a way to put mid and drip into every show for iconic chatter.
I will say, if a guy I'm looking to see his odds drop, the way this golf course shapes out, if Brooks stumbles on day one and he drops like 25-1, I will be right there to pounce on that number.
I was going to say the same thing of what you just said about Brooks. I know I've already got a 10-1 bet on Scotty Scheffler, but if he drops,
of course,
same thing with John.
The problem with Scotty is I don't think he's going to drop that far, and unless he's like out of contention. That's the problem with those guys. They just don't drop that far.
Well, here's the question though. I forget whether it was the Memorial. I already closed out on my DraftKings or my models here. Which week was it that he finished third place? That he was like in like 9 strokes back after the second. Was it the Charles Schwab or was it the Memorial?
It was the Memorial. It was the Memorial.
9 or 10 strokes back. Can you at a U.S. Open course
you can't do
fall that far behind and come back? No.
I mean, there's a very small list of guys who would be able to.
And Scotty Scheffler or John Rahm might be that guy, but I don't know. It's tough.
It's tough because the question is, can you make enough birdies to climb back? Like, what is falling too far back in the U.S. Open? Where the leaders after day one might be 2 or 3 under.
Right.
The cut line might be 5 or 6. Like, is 4 too far back? Is 5 too far back?
I know it's a different tournament and different course. How far back did Justin Thomas fall before he won last year's PGA?
7.
It was 7 because I had an outright on him to start the tournament. And then when he fell, I think he was like 5 or 6 back at one point, and I doubled down because I'm like, this guy's still got a chance to come down. So it was one of my most profitable weeks ever doing this because I had 2 bets on the same guy there. I don't know what the answer is on a U.S. Open course.
Yeah, I want to say that Thomas started that final round at 2 under. Mito was at 9 under, and Mito collapsed, and Justin shot 5 under, and made it into the playoff with Zalatoris at both 7 under.
Gotcha. All right, we're gonna wrap up Fairway to Heaven right here. It's John Rahm versus Scotty Scheffler this week. That's basically all that matters. Sam, what else you got going on this week? Because I know you're covering a lot of stuff with golf this week. When are your articles coming out? Where can everybody find everything for you?
Well, my event predictions, a little course preview, best bets article did come out today. You can find that all over at the game day, along with the odds and field page I released last week. That's pretty much rolling. I just update the odds every couple of days there. I'll have a player props page coming out tomorrow or tomorrow night. That'll be more focused on finishing positions and stuff like that. After that, a lot of other stuff with the game day, football, F1, NHL, tons of stuff over there over at Football Guys. We just released our new rankings program over there. You can find all my rankings and some other fantasy football and gambling stuff over there as well. I'm a busy man these days.
Hey, you're living the dream, my man. Living the dream down there in Florida. There, the pickleball champion of Florida, right there, right?
Somewhat.
Something like that. All right, we're gonna wrap it up right there. Fairway to Heaven. I almost called it trending in the AM. Fairway to Heaven on the Philadelphia Sports Network. If you're watching on replay, like, share, retweet, follow. Shout it from the rooftops. Fairway to Heaven, the best fantasy golf podcast there is. I'll be back tomorrow morning, trending in the AM, the best morning show there is in the Philadelphia area. Everybody have a great night. For Philadelphia Sports Network, that is Sam Wagman. I am Phil Stiefel. Y'all have a great night. We'll see you next week.